Okay, Mr. Jones, can you please talk to us about some of the changes that will happen this year in block lunch?
Definitely. Very excited about block lunch this year. As you know, we do it the best, especially the best in Plano, but we've got some changes that we are doing as opposed to the last couple of years. This year, we are going to have a designated quiet area, a study area where you can also work with your group. It's going to be the downstairs C and E hall by the science hallway, the downstairs science hallway. So that area is going to be designated as a quiet area for you to read, study, and there's a couple collaboration spaces there that you can use too. We're also going to have a room where students can make up tests or take tests if they were absent. That's going to be right in the same area in the ATC, the alternative testing room, and your teachers are going to coordinate that with you in the event that you need to make up a test. So that's also another thing that kids can utilize this year. One other change that we're looking at is having students be able to go outside one day a week. So we're planning that once the weather gets a little bit cooler, it's too hot, but one day a week, Thursdays or Fridays, and we're going to communicate that with you that we're going to open up outside where kids can go outside the small gym, they can go to the tennis courts, but they can go outside one day a week if there's nice weather. So we're really excited about that. A couple other changes, our IDs are going to be coming out, and you should have them by the time you see this video. So everybody's going to be wearing their IDs. If you want to go into open gym, in the small gym, the coaches are going to check for your ID every time. If you want to go into the library, they're going to be checking for your ID as well. But that's kind of an overview of some of the changes we're doing.
Awesome, thank you so much. And what's one piece of advice you should give students about making block lunch successful this year?
I love block lunch. I'm really excited. I think it's great for students, for teachers, for everybody really. And so my piece of advice would be, and you've heard this all week, but manage your time, plan out your week, get involved, go to your club meetings, go to tutorials, and then those days that sometimes you just need to hang with your friends for an hour, that's important too. So utilize your time wisely.
Thank you so much.
Go Stallions.
Go Stallions. Why is safety so important during block lunch?
Well, I'd say safety is probably our most important thing here at school, regardless of the time. And then especially during block lunch when we have over 1,500 kids off, it's important that every single person take that time seriously, that they're limiting their horseplay behavior, like we've called it, because if we have some of those small incidents, they go ahead and they balloon up to something much bigger pretty quickly when we don't act our age. And so making sure that we take everything as safely as we can, and we want to make sure that we're taking all of the things that our teachers, admin, and just adults around the school are asking students to do, making sure that we're taking that seriously, because if we don't, then we can have big things happen without much warning.
Can you talk to us about the procedures for a fire drill or a lockdown during block lunch?
So both are going to be kind of separate. For a fire drill, we'd want to go, if it's not a fire drill, if it's actually an emergency, because we won't have a fire drill during lunch, but if it's an actual fire that happens, we'd want to go ahead and exit to the nearest exit as quickly as possible, and we'd be wanting to find our fourth period teacher out on the football field. So if the fire alarm is pulled and we need people to evacuate as quickly as possible, or if the fire alarm goes off and we need people to be evacuating as quickly as possible, we'd be making our way out to the football field, and at that time you'd be finding your fourth period teacher who should have their sign up, and we want to treat it from that aspect after we are on the football field as much like the drill as possible, where you line up, get with your teacher, and then check to make sure that everyone's there. If it's going to be a lockdown, that's where it's going to be similar to what we did last year, where we had a drill, and we will have another lockdown drill at block lunch this year. The purpose behind practicing that drill and having that drill is to make sure that students can get behind a locked door as quickly as possible. In the event that we have one of those lockdowns take place, we want to make sure that all students are behind a locked door as quickly as they can be without endangering the safety of other students. If you're unavailable to get behind one of those locked doors in a classroom, then you need to be able to find the nurse's office, the teacher's lounge, a bathroom stall, anything that you can get to so that you're out of sight as quickly as possible.
Can you touch on the areas of school that are off limits during block lunch?
So we're going to be trying something new this year and making all of E Hall our quiet area. So we won't have downstairs. E Hall will be completely off limits for all students. I know there's that collab space that's down there, but that'll be completely off limits. We'll also have downstairs B Hall, which has always been off limits, but unless you have a pass to go to one of your teachers, we'll have a teacher right there and they will not let you pass for any reason. And then our last one is just going to be the stairwells. We don't need students in the stairwells for any reason, especially in B hall or going down C and D hall to E hall. We just staying out of those stairwells for any reason.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Banner, why is block lunch so special for Shepton?
Block lunch is so special because there's not many campuses across the state of Texas doing this. We're very unique in that. And it's an opportunity for students to really stand up for your education. So as part of our SHS standards to stand up, just advocate for your learning, having a self-ownership and advocacy for the opportunities you have academically, socially, in clubs and all the things that it has to offer.
All right. What message do you have for students about student ownership?
So ownership is a big piece. Probably the biggest piece of this is just showing respect. And like we talked about with the expectation talks, you can't respect me or this building or your peers until you have some self-respect. But really just being kind to each other, being kind to the building, having some respect for everything that this involves, each other, your teachers, your friends, and mainly the building as well.
All right. What are some positive behaviors you would like to see in students for block lunch?
So when I walk around during block lunch, it's my favorite time of the day is to get to see students and teachers just interacting on a different level. So I want to see students in clubs, in activities. I want to see students that are in the hallway hanging out with friends. That's fine. If you're handling your business and you want to use that time socially with your friends, that's great. The problem we have is when that time socially is extending into the academic world and you aren't taking care of business in the class. So, and we just want you to be high achieving in all that you do. And so this is a perfect example of that, of getting involved in clubs, activities, tutorials. And tutorials isn't a bad thing. Tutorials is a great opportunity. You don't have to come in before or after school now. You can just come in and get help and taking some ownership to get help in the area you need.
What behaviors are unacceptable for students in block lunch?
So with the block-o-meter that you will see, we have 4 main areas of feedback that we'll provide. Number 1 is volume. And so just with that many students out at lunch at one time, the volume has to just be a low level. And so like I said, with the groups in the hallways, that's fine if you're having fun and talking, conversing, but the volume just needs to be kept down. My best analogy is if you're at a level 8, 9, or 10 and everybody else is, then it just is too loud across the building. So volume's number 1. Behavior, the main thing with behavior is no recess behavior. Recess is geared towards elementary school, like across the way, but just no recess behavior, no running around. Roaming, something we don't like to see is the students roaming around aimlessly. Get to where you need to go, find your spot, find your places, but we just don't need to have people that are just walking around and roaming. Tardies, there's no excuse to be tardy to 5th period. So you have 64 minutes to get there, so there's no excuse to be tardy to 5th period. So definitely be on time. And then the last thing is this trash, is this like the respect piece. Taking care of business, picking up after yourself. If you see something, just being a leader and picking it up. We're going to have some cleaning stations set aside, set up for you with paper towel dispensers and different things so where you can clean up after yourself. So just taking that ownership. And those are the main behaviors that we will be addressing. We'll have the block-o-meter set up to where you can have a remind account that you can get some feedback from me, and so it's very clear feedback on where we stand with block lunch to know exactly where you stand and what we need to do to improve, or as well as to celebrate where you're doing well.
Okay, and if you could give students one piece of advice, what would it be?
Own it. Okay, Lorimer?
Okay.
Own it. Take ownership. Like there's not many things, or many campuses are doing this. There's not many schools doing it. This is an opportunity for students, and so if there's no ownership, this isn't going to go well. And so we're trusting you to do the right thing every day, day in, day out, but taking advantage of this opportunity. handle your business or we'll handle it for you. And that's not, it's not a threat. It's just, you know, if you aren't handling your business academically or handling the volume or behavior, then we're going to have to address that with individuals or small groups. But you know, at the end of the day, if it becomes a safety concern for the campus, we'll have to pull block lunch, and we don't want to do that, but we will if we have to.
All right, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.